going on? Jesus Christ, that is terrible. Terrible. What's going on? Ask questions. I'm just kind of sitting here and looking at all these scribbles. That's just ridiculous. We had major market manipulation. I'm probably only going to do this for maybe 30 minutes just to see if people actually join. Check out the videos I'm going to be posting. I made some other ones that aren't just XCN related. And it's like ZBEC Network, Dash, Toshi, Swiftcoin, AMP. I spent way too much time making that. Where do I see Bitcoin going today? Let's look. It's been pretty brutal these past weeks. And in my video, I kind of explain why this happened. Like, for example, October 10th was when we had the major market manipulation. We were supposed to be pushing upwards and following this orange ghost candle pattern. Government shut down, destroyed the momentum, had the continuation over the 200 EMA. And then when we hit right here, January 29th, I've said it in the past 3 videos that are going to be uploaded, so you probably haven't seen them. January 29th, we had Jerome Powell talk about pretty much him being a puta, and he's getting kicked out of his position. So he said, you know what? Why not tank the markets once more before I leave my chair? And he did that. He said good morning or good afternoon, and we went from 87,000 down to 60. 20,000 from somebody saying good afternoon really makes you question if cryptocurrency is actually worth anything. But the people who are supporting it, like MicroStrategy, their dollar cost average, Michael Saylor's dollar cost average for Bitcoin is around 70 to 74,000. And if you pull up the news for Bitcoin, it says probably somewhere in here that, oh yeah, right there, Michael Saylor company bought 1,142 Bitcoins, about $90 million worth, valued at nearly $49 billion, all within this area. So somebody knows something, or it's crashing and they're like, okay, we got 50% off thanks to Jerome Powell. The government is printing a ridiculous amount of money trying to get rid of the debt that we have. And they say $120,000 of Bitcoin. Why don't we just push it down to, I don't know, 50% off? And then we'll print out a bunch of money. We'll buy up a bunch of it when everybody's scared, when they're selling their Bitcoin thinking it's going to zero, which I don't see that happening. And everybody is panic selling, not only because we had the breaking of this trend line, but also because we are underneath the 200 EMA, because it broke structure of which it shouldn't have broken. But one guy said a few words at one point in time on January 29th, and we saw this major decrease in price. What I think Bitcoin is potentially going to do as we still have a bunch of people scared, thinking that it is going to go to zero. It's not. It's just not. There's a guy who's got $21 million buy at a penny. So even if it went to a penny, it's still not going to zero. But Bitcoin, I think we could see this pullback once more still. In the previous videos, I explained our previous history with Bitcoin and how we had about a 30% pullback. We had this consolidation period, broke underneath that upward red trend line, consolidated, tapped it as resistance, and then had one final pullback, which created a lower low than the previous low, which scared a bunch of people. A bunch of people had sell stops here. They all sold, and then everybody and their grandma bought it right back up and created a new all-time high. I think we are essentially doing that with this last liquidity sweep. There is still the possibility to push down in the bigger picture to the $50,000 mark. I didn't think we'd ever have to say that that's a possibility, but yeah, we are saying that's a possibility. And the reason behind that, there's a lot of lines on this chart, but they all have valid reasoning behind them. The $50,000 mark, let's see where we at. This is 70. We're more or less right here. 50,000 is roughly the support back in August of 2024, 49 to 50,000. We had a wick off, it tapped it, and then pushed right back up, had another shakeout down to the downside. People sold here because they said, oh, we could be pushing all the way back down to 49,000. That did not happen. It pulled right back over the 200 EMA and held it as support. Keeping in mind, though, that right now we are actually way underneath the 200 EMA compared to previously in August. So when we're looking at the chart currently, the 200 EMA is way away from where we want it to be. 200 EMA is up here around 100K. We are down nearly at 68,000. So a pretty big price differential. But the way I would be looking at this is inverting the chart. And if you are a bull or you are a bear, say you're a bull, and this is all bullish momentum, you would be looking at selling off around this area, more than likely, because you have that major increase in price. In this case, it's a decrease because we're looking at the inverted chart. 37% on Bitcoin, 37% on 127,000, 124,000. Pretty substantial. You'd want to try and capture your gains. And for the bulls, you would recommend, or you would start looking at this with Fibonacci. What is the 618? The 618 is my orange box. It may be different in your guys' form, but 618 is more or less here around 84,000. Say we push even lower. Say we're not done yet. We get one more blip of something or other. 50 to 51,000. Let's be a little conservative. Let's say we go to 49,000. That may look bad to some people, but it actually should look very good to you. For those of you who are holding, 618 would be around 80,000. Not bad. If this is an inverse head and shoulders playing out, let's go back to normal view. Inverse head and shoulders. Say we get that push up, 80,000's here. You'd expect some consolidation, maybe a little pullback. Testing higher lows is essentially what you'd want to be seeing. Pushing back up to the 96,000, which is where the neckline is for the inverse head and shoulders. Pure speculation, no relevant information yet. Within the next couple of days, we could see whether this holds support. I personally think since we had the major drawdown, there may be a little bit more of a shakeout, but this red downward trend line is essentially what we need to be holding to really see it hold as support. This major pullback, as bloody as it seems, is actually very healthy. We're just trying to cauterize the wound at the moment. We have the pullback, and I say it's healthy because it's probably hard for you to see, but the RSI, we are completely oversold. Sometimes when you see this moment happen, you see the push in, push down, and then another push down, and then one more. But after the third tap, you're pretty much exhausted from the bullish or bearish momentum. Let's look here, for example. You have the push up, a little bit more of a push up, and then one more. And that majorly pushed the price all the way from, let's say it was at the 50 on the RSI, right around here at 67,000. And then once we did our final peak out right here, you're looking at 99 to 100,000. From 70 to 100 is about 30,000, right? But then while it's retracing back to make the market healthy, it still had that little bit of a push downwards, which could be our push to the $50,000 mark, find its base, pull back into the CM guppy, test it once more, shake everybody out, say, okay, we really can't push it lower. We manipulated the market down this far. We can't do anymore. Everybody's holding. Everybody wants to see this thing skyrocket. The SEC has been suppressing it. And essentially, that's what we could be seeing with Bitcoin. We could see something similar to a push up, the push down further, come test it, do the final shakeout, build the base right here, and then from there, have our reversal, get the resistance off the 200 EMA, get the resistance off that trend line. And then once we get in there, then we'd be working all within this range right up there. That is days to come. I don't think Q1 anything major is going to be happening. What do I think about re-entry at 63? Could be a good idea. Depends on how much you want to put into it. Are you spending $63,000 on one Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, that's not bad because you're looking at maybe double money. 120 to get to the all-time high before resistance. And while you say you put in 63,000 into Bitcoin and it goes up to 120, you doubled your money. But in that run from 63 to 120 or 126 to double your money, there's going to be other coins out there that are just going bonkers. So I'm not saying put $63,000 into XCN, but what would XCN have to do realistically to get the same profit reward that you would get from having Bitcoin? Keeping in mind, to get that 100%, you have to have the 63,000 you're willing to put into Bitcoin to, do the full double money. For here, we're looking at half a penny. To double money, you're looking at breaking out of the red trend line, which you're looking from turning half a penny into a penny. It's a lot easier for people to flood money into something that's half a penny to increase the value of it rather than millions and millions of dollars to push Bitcoin back up. Granted, that the government is building a cryptocurrency reserve. They're trying to collect as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. What's up, Woozall? You're back. I saw just the other day that you weren't a member. Now you're a member again. That's great. I appreciate it. The next video is going to be explaining the members. I had like 9 gifted members and they all disappeared. So my monthly profit went from like 100 down to like $30 a month. And to save animals' lives, $30 a month, I will be creating videos for an entire year to even be able to save an animal. Let's try and, those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those numbers up. But that's kind of the explanation of Bitcoin. I'm not sure, Junie Jamshade, I'm not sure if you're wanting to enter in $63,000 into Bitcoin. If I had $63,000, I would not put it all into Bitcoin personally, but right now is a phenomenal entry opportunity. Let's actually bring back up BTC and previous history. I can tell you that I didn't think Bitcoin was going to hit $100,000. If I did, I would have held on to my 13 Bitcoin a decade ago. But, I had to sell it. I was dealing with I was figuring out the dark web. I was needing to buy a car. I needed to pay rent. There's many things that happened in between the decade of saying, why didn't you hold on to one? I did. And I lost it in the dark web for various reasonings, but we're not going to get into that. I started learning about Bitcoin here. If you haven't seen my previous videos, this is when I learned about Bitcoin. I traded a bottle of vodka for a guy to teach me about the dark web, how to buy Bitcoin. I would take cash, thousands of dollars of cash, put it in an envelope in MoneyGram and send it to Japan. Japan would send me the Bitcoin to my wallet. And this is how I bought Bitcoin. I sent thousands of dollars to Japan. Stupid idiot. No, I never got screwed over. It was valid. They got my cash. I got the Bitcoin, and win-win for everybody. But I was explaining to my father, I was like, Bitcoin is $139 to $200. I want to spend the last bit of my paycheck on Bitcoin. My father telling me it's a dumb idea. It's a dumb idea. Don't do it. And then a few months later, I guess a year later, we're looking at 5x my money and say I want to spend almost all of my paychecks into Bitcoin, told over and over by the person whose dick I came out of that it was a bad idea. And it just kept continuing, reaping money. So I was profiting throughout this entire time. I did sell off on the way up, probably I think around 12 and 16,000. And then my father decided, well, I guess you did have a good idea. I'm going to buy it 17,000. The hell, man! I told you to buy it $300, and then we go to 17,000. Oh, thanks, Woozall. Always appreciated. And yeah, you got to tell me you're male, female, because your Patreon shows female. Your mentality shows of great character. You're definitely an interesting person. It'd be cool to meet you in person. I know you're in Australia, but yeah, always appreciated. Awesome. No, you're a cool character. Definitely an interesting person. Yeah, XCN has been super disappointing for most. For me, no. I got it in at 0.0025. Is it a good buy now? Well, let's dig into it. Let me explain my Bitcoin thesis first. My father's entering at the all-time high when I was telling him to buy at $300, right? He didn't do it. He just didn't do it for whatever reason. I'm sending cash to Japan to get this cryptocurrency to my wallet. He buys at 17,000, thinks it's a scam, and it crashes to practically nothing from his entry point. Continues to think it's a scam. I say, Father, please, it's $3,500 per Bitcoin. Just buy each of your kids one Bitcoin. I know you can do it. It's 10 grand. You got it saved somewhere. It's maybe earning 8 to 10% in the S&P 500. Maybe it's in a REIT. If you guys don't know what REITs are, look them up. No, I'm not going to do it. It's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's only what somebody's willing to pay for it. $3,500. I'm not going to do that. Christmas hit. Where's Christmas? It was right around Christmas I told him to buy. So right about here, 3,500, about the bottom. Lo and behold, by April, we are up at almost double money. Okay, there's your 2x, your 63,000 turning into 120, but you're only betting 3,000, turning it into 6. Broke the 200 EMA, held it as support, and then it went from $6,000 up to around $13,000. My father could not escape because he was trapped at $17,000. Stupid idiot. And then it crashed for more time, years, right? 4, 5 plus years. All these lines are just confirmation of me putting in the work. And then we had the major push from roughly $8,000 to Here's 2017's all-time high right here around 17,000. Tested this all-time high, broke way above it, right? 20,000, 3,000 more than when my father entered. Major reduction in price back down to 16,000 where he originally entered. Shakeout, okay, it's going to go to zero now. Nope. Psych. Goes from 16,000 to, my God, what is it, $60,000? And this is currently where we are at right now. The previous all-time highs, more or less, of what we were looking at. Now, where is the dots? We're up here. We're at 68,000. So our support is anywhere from 64 to roughly $67,000. But $50,000 is still within gameplay because this is where we test some more support. There's a lot more support down here around $50,000 as opposed to just these two touches right around the top at around 65 to 68,000. But we are getting a little bit more support. Now, I know you requested more information on XCM. There is going to be a video on XCN and XRP, trying to reach more subscribers and whatnot. And 350K XCN, that's great. That is very good. Keep stacking it because it is a very good price at this point in time. A lot of people are freaking out. Oh, that is just convoluted. Let's get rid of all that. Look at the bigger picture. When in doubt, zoom out. So some people are freaking out, saying XCN is probably not a good entry point. Let's pull up the BS. This is when I started looking at XCN. No real reasoning. Just went through Coinbase, started saying what's down, 98%, 100%, whatever it may be. And I saw with my strategy using CM Guppy that this has been a cascade effect. It's very strong waterfall, but we built a little bit of a base right here at the 00088. Say, okay, that's not the best entry point. Yeah, there's that little blip. But we see that we built a base and we had a little bit of a push. Okay, something to keep an eye on. That was in June of 2023. Here we move into October of 2023, and I see the CM Guppies really thinned out. We did start a little bit lower low, but it is thinned out to a max. I entered here, probably a little higher. I think right around here. No, it was probably 125. I entered it at 0.00125, and that profit from that entry, because we crossed through the CM Guppy, was about 235% increase in profit. Sell off, call it a day, great, 2x. We need to have a better validation. It pulls back. We were way overbought in the RSI. We have the major pullback, which is, let's see if we can get you to see that, almost selling off, almost breaking the 30 in the RSI, but building a base. Okay, we built a base, we built higher lows. If we draw a trend line from our previous low to this low, all right, we're building some kind of support. Enter. The possibility of it going down is still there, but the CM Guppy is starting to build support. With that entry from this price point, we scalped another 243%. Roughly 5x from, what is that? November until March. So wait, it's not quick money. That took time, but it was perfect entries, perfectly planned, executed right with the strategy that I use. And then we had our major retracement. This was my anxiety. Going through Christmas, investing my entire house savings into XCN at 125, more or less. Believing in myself when everybody else is telling you you're an idiot is probably the most satisfying thing you can do in life. We had this downward trend line. We held support above the 200 EMA. That is the prime thing that I look at. If we had a downward trend line here, for example, let's say this, more or less, let's do this. That being our downward trend line, we broke that. We broke over that, held over the 200 EMA, entry. Rode that wave up. It was way overbought, sell off, and then re-entry when we broke this downward trend line. Jerome Powell, the guy who controlled this last dip, the like 60 or 30% dip, he spoke and didn't say good afternoon. He said good evening or some other 2-word phrase. And we had, within 1 day after the consolidation period, of course, another 441%. So adding that on top, we 10x'd within this entire year. 10x the money is not bad. It did take time. It's not instant besides this day, but it took some time. And this 1 day was double what the previous 2 trades were. Granted, maybe I had an entry here and was in the red throughout this entire period, but stacked a bigger entry as soon as we crossed over that trend line. So maybe I'm not losing as much on the way down, but then whenever I stack it, I gain all of it and then some on the way back up. Sold off a big portion here because it was way overbought. And according to Fib, more or less, say we're here to here, 618 is all the way back down here at 0.00674. And that 0.00674 in the decrease in price is pretty substantial. That is about a 50% decrease in price. So I was like, okay, I'll take the 400%. I don't want to take another 200% and then try and re-enter at a higher risk ratio. Take 50% out. You profited 500% in a day. Granted, it's not a day, it's weeks of consolidation. And then we had the continuation. So entering in at 0.00287, we are currently at more or less this price point, which is the exact price point that skyrocketed at about 450%. So if you're not entering in at this price point, first off, you probably don't believe in XCN that it can do a pump like this again. If you are thinking about entering in at this price point, keep in mind that there is still a pullback possibility. There's the Clarity Act. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen. But the Clarity Act, Onyx Coin is trying to work in correlation with the Clarity Act in essence of it being legit, not having any issues with the government, the SEC, whatever it may be. But the entry point is pretty on point, actually. Fair value gap are these 2 yellow lines. So anywhere from 0.00302 to 0.0224, more or less. That's where we had some support and resistance from previous history. You could go back in history even more. I'm sure it's the same right here. Support, or I guess this is resistance from this point in time. Then we considered it more as support here, here, and here, but then it was resistance once it broke underneath that. So then we got the resistance on this little wick off, busted through it, tested that same level that got resistance and closure. Even though we had this wick off here, we closed down here, and then we had the resistance off that closure, pushed down directly to the 200 EMA, which is at 0.00183. Pretty far below what we want to be seeing XCN at, but it's something to keep in mind. A lot of people think these are just lines on a chart, but they all mean something. This is more or less what the absolute low we'd want to see. Granted, the absolute low we could see could be as low as here, or even at this previous point at 0.00064, but it's less likely. More people are investing into XCN, not saying that's any reason to. You see meme coins take off, but let's get rid of all of this garbage. This is all garbage from previous videos. This black trend line, more or less irrelevant, but we would like to see it hold support as we held a little support right here. That would be ideal. This red line right here is essentially the CM guppy, where it was coming down and then we had that breakthrough. But if we continue with the CM guppy where it was at, you can more or less see that that's the support while the CM guppy is coming down here, causing the resistance. This is just kind of stuff you got to piece together. None of it is validation in any way. The validation is, in my strategy, is breaking the trend lines. The validation of the people who heeded my opinion, it's not financial advice, at the 0.004 entry before we broke this downward trend line. And this is why the trend line is important, because this black trend line right here, we had our resistance all the way down. And then once it broke, we had that 168% pop. So even if this trickles all the way down, we could see it trickle down to try and get support off this black trend line. It could whip down, pull back up. We could see it just grind on top of that until it finally does its reversal. But ideally, we'd want to see it hold within the red downward trend lines before pushing up. Ideally, Bitcoin is going to do its reversal. If Bitcoin does drop more, you could see this pull back heavily. Ideally holding right here around the 0.0035. The differential from entering here to waiting, 41%. That's massive. So if you're putting $100, you got $60 if it pulls back, but that's if you sell. If you're selling at the bottom, you're obviously not waiting to cash out at the highs. 58%. This is more or less what we call a 1-to-1 ratio. If you're entering into this, you're kind of more or less gambling. You're not giving yourself the 2-to-1 ratio. You're not putting the ace in your sleeve. You're gambling at the 1-to-1. You want some type of validation. You say, well, why would I wait for it to come up here and then I waste that 50%? Well, because this red trend line is more or less what you really want to be broken for your valid entry. You can be entering anywhere in here. It's still a good entry, but you're putting more risk and reward. You're teetering the scales, I guess. The risk is 40% loss. The reward at this current moment is around 50% gain. Before resistance, before support, 40%. It's really up to you. But if you did not enter into XCN or have not entered into XCN, it's not a bad idea to dollar cost average and keep buying it even if it's going down, because you're more than likely going to get some support down here around the 0.003. That is my personal opinion. It is not financial advice. Hopefully, if you're still in here, June Aid Jamshade, hopefully that was informative. Let me know what else you guys want to see. I still got to study Spanish, and I got to do an English teaching test thing, because I'm not making enough money doing YouTube, I'll tell you that. But the way I see it is that since I live in Spain, hopefully that doesn't come back to kick me in the ass and the government be like, you posted that YouTube video say you lived in Spain and now we got to tax you the 47%. If you make over $60,000 in Spain, they charge you 47% in taxes. If you make a bit above minimum wage this past year, they were charging 24% taxes. And that's just the taxes on your paycheck. That's not including the 21% tax on food. So my thinking is, if I can get 84 members, I have, I think 6. 84 members gets $600 before taxes. 50% is about $300 to save animals' lives. The other $300 for survival. And then the rest is cryptocurrency market trading. And if you guys haven't seen or entered into it yet, I keep bringing it up. It did get slammed along with the rest of the market, but Tornado Cash. Oh, it wasn't on crypto.com. It was on NextC. So my original entry was 750 when we broke a downward trend line. While everything was bleeding, I did a bunch of scalp trades right in here, 50 to 80% increases in price, because we had the major resistance at 11. This was market manipulation, support by the creator of Ethereum. This coin washes money. If you don't know what washing money is, watch Ozark. And it is a pretty cool coin. Its all-time high is $420 or $459, currently at roughly $8. But when you see this movement happen, this is where a lot of people freak out. But this is essentially pulling that slingshot back to let this thing ride. We were right around the 50 right here on the RSI, more or less healthy, but you need a pullback to have the ability to work its way back up towards the overbought area. This thing could move very quick. We've seen it happen in the past many times. For example, this one candle, when we held over the 200 EMA, keeping in mind we had a pullback right around here in August, long consolidation until November, and then one day, boop, 1,000%. There's your 10x. You put in $7 and got 10x your money. It's not bad. It's not bad. And for sponsors that want to sponsor the video, Cruzcampo, the only beer that is sold in Spain. Tastes like pee? I don't know. I'm losing my mind. I'm talking to myself in the house again. God damn. All right. Well, you can trade Tornado Cash on MEXC. Using the reference link for MEXC, you get 20 USDT for free. I believe that is if you transfer 100 USDT and do one futures trade, you can get in and out, but you already get 20%. That's actually not a bad idea, Woozall. I might do that. There's a lot of this stuff over here is dark money. So when cryptocurrency starts to take over Europe, which it actually is with XRP specifically, Spain's going to be screwed. A majority of these people live off of dark money. They bake cakes. They make more money baking cakes than paying the taxes for working a job. For example, the vets here maybe make $2,000 working like 50 hours a week. And then they are taxed ridiculous amount, and they probably take home maybe 1,300. Rent being about 50% of that. So getting into home brewing probably isn't a bad idea. There's this beer over here called Golden Drac. It's from Alemania or Germany. It tastes like caramel chocolate beer. It's phenomenal. It's 10% for a bottle of beer, but it's pretty good. And I saw that they do have that online where you can create your own. But you got any inputs? Did you join Rollercoin, Woozle? I know 3 people out of like the 13 that use the link actually play the game. But while we've been bleeding out, I've earned like 2 XRP, and it's not much, but I mean, that's still $2. And I don't see it as $2. I see it as anywhere from $20 to $30 when the market actually increases. You just pull it out, put it in your wallet. It's the only game that I've found. I started researching more games that are passive income, but it's the only game I found that you don't have to pay anything and you just earn passive crypto. Yeah, you need a certain amount to withdraw, but you can just transfer whatever money in as long as it's cheaper than the fees. Oh, nice. Yeah. That takes up a lot of your time. Yeah, we got these this stuff, sculpting, crafting, Fimo. Like these little things made of Fimo. Hearts. There's like, we made these little plants. I don't know where they're at, but that definitely takes a lot of time. I'm not very good at it. I can't do Fimo at all, but sculpting, definitely a good technique, and especially if you do YouTube video on it. Do the same thing I'm doing. Make a video on it, post it on YouTube. It's taken me a year to get these 1,000 subscribers, and only like 200 people watch the video. But it's it's informative, and the more people that watch, and once you're monetized, they start paying you for the ads that they make people watch. And so the ads that you guys are promoted, I get like a penny even if it's a skippable ad, I get a penny. But I don't know a foam craft. That's got to be difficult. I'm pretty destructive. I just like. All right, what you guys want to see? It's been about 41 minutes. Shout out to Woozall for the donation, as always. What can I teach you? What you got questions on? Actually, this is one for members. So if you're not a member and you're watching this, you might take a look at dipping into Solana. Solana is $84. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is $288. A lot of people are switching over to Solana instead of Ethereum because the gas fees on Ethereum are absolutely insane. I was playing a game called MCP. That game went under after taking a bunch of people's money, but it did make me like over 2 Ethereum back whenever Ethereum was probably like 1,300. Pretty cool game. Definitely went to garbage. But the fees to like build one building in the game, you have to pay a gas fee. Back when Ethereum was really cheap, it was like 2 cents. And then the gas went up and up, and you could be doing one building and spending like $250 just for gas. And so that's why people are kind of switching over to Solana, XRP, different variations. Not saying Ethereum's not going to go to 10x, or sorry, 10,000, not 10x. It's possible for Ethereum to hit 10 to 15x when altcoin season does take off, but who knows when that's going to be. And I have the videos already made, the thumbnails. I got to add one of the thumbnails for XRP and XCN where we can dig in deeper for the people who don't see live. But I'll release another one. Bitcoin, Ethereum. Somebody asked Amelia's keys or Amelia's something bracelets wanted me to do Swift coin. So I covered Swift and AMP. I haven't talked about AMP for a while, but AMP is thinning out. It's not something I'm really invested in. I think I have maybe like $100 in it. I am considering buying a bigger bag of Solana though, because the main reason is this, the 200 EMA. I always like whenever we are far away from a 200 EMA to look at it in an inverted scale, because look, for example, on the bullish movement, we touched the 200 EMA, we more or less touched the 200 EMA, had the major push away, and then we came right back to the 200 EMA. So we touched the 200 EMA, major push away. We may see that further. We may see it go to 50 if Bitcoin pushes down. But then we have the retracement back to the 200 EMA. And it's not much, but it is something. So for example, if you're entering here, wait for confirmation. Don't just enter here because you saw the video. But that's around a 70% increase potential. The decrease potential is 45, more or less. So it kind of puts your risk to reward in a 2-to-1 ratio instead of the 1-to-1 ratio, which increases your educated guessing. It's not financial advice. You're guessing with education and the reasoning behind it. I did check out Canton Network. I actually made a whole video on Canton Network, and a whole 24 people watched my almost 6-minute video. 24 people, that's terrible. It's still public, so I'm not sure what maybe my title's garbage. I don't know. Maybe people don't like seeing my mascot. It took me a minute to make that mascot, but let's see. Let's go into Canton. But keep Solana in the back of your head. Watch it these next couple of days. See if we consolidate, but always correlate it back to Bitcoin. Let's see, CC, or it doesn't pull up like that. Canton. CC Network, MEXC. Traded on MEXC. If you use the reference link, 20 USDT for free. This is kind of what I explained on the video. So I tried to keep it short because I'm trying to do some videos for members and stuff, give you guys some extra info. Also trying to get new subscribers, but the people who watch my videos need to watch like 30 to 60 seconds of my other videos immediately. So like 200 people watch it, then it gets pushed out to the other 1,000 people. So this Canton network is actually holding pretty well. I don't have a whole bunch of I didn't do my research, I should say, on Canton Network. But with Bitcoin pulling back as heavily as it did, so January 29th, where's January 29th? Here. While the rest of the market was getting obliterated by Jerome Powell's words, this just consolidated, had a little bit of a pullback, but the CM Guppy is pretty strong. We still have this consolidation phase, but it is wicking off. Let's zoom in here. It's wicking off and dropping down a bit. So like I said in the Canton video, for the 25 people that saw it, I think we could have a pullback through the CM Guppy. Sometimes, especially in crypto, we see it pull back even more where you're like, oh, it broke through the CM Guppy. It's going to have a continuation, but then it pulls right back in to the CM Guppy, which is right where this trend line is at, this little guy, and then build a little support and then start to take off. And I like to compare Canton Network, even with the very limited information we have. Say we go to KuCoin, does it look different? KuCoin shows we started down here, major push up. I think that's probably the most accurate chart I've seen is KuCoin. But what we could do, this is kind of what I do whenever I'm just trying to check just different variations in my strategy. Start here, say we go here, boom. That's more or less the ranges I would be expecting for us to be trading within. So, okay, we got all the way down here to 0.13, potential support. Maybe we push into here, but then this would be our resistance at that 0.13. Maybe we just consolidate in this area and then have our push up. Then our real range is up to 21 cents or beyond. We could be pushing into the next layer, which would be up here around 28 cents from 16 cents. Not bad risk to reward. Well, let's say this isn't accurate. Let's say this is the trend line that we are going off of. Okay, so then our support's a little bit higher. We got this range, which actually still lines up with the CM Guppy, believe it or not. Gonfan is more or less Fibonacci ratio at an angle. So we'd want to see some support around the 14. We could see that bust down to 12, depending if Bitcoin does its 50K pullback. But even with Bitcoin pulling back as much as it did, Canton Network didn't really move anywhere. It's not really affected by it. So I think this may get a little bit more consolidation. It's still holding right around the 50. And this could easily be pushing back up to around the 24-cent mark. But there's always a but. This is what I brought up. This is still in comparison to Canton Network. Let's go back in history. Back in math. Let's see, is that about it? I think this is when I started looking at math. I started looking at math right here. It came out, it had its major push, but look at this area, right? I haven't checked the chat yet. So if you guys have been saying stuff, I haven't checked it. I'm going to check it now. All we need is XCN. Naz, we got to be patient, bro. We got to be patient. I'm going to post that video. You better watch all 22 minutes and 42 seconds of it. Myself, yes, I am in XCN. XCN's one of my biggest bags, and I've been bleeding out with it. Not worried about it. It's part of the game. I'm expecting minimum 10x. So why would I sell at the 50% loss? Not saying I'm at a 50% loss, but you dollar cost average down, dollar cost average up. When it's going down, buy some. When it's going up, buy some more. But XCN's a little different because it moves so quickly. You want to be selling at those high points. 20% of your bag, wait for it to retrace, buy back in. You'll see on the video when I post it. I'm posting them like every few hours apart to give you guys the opportunity to watch them. I'm trying to deal with the algorithm of YouTube where it says if I don't notify subscribers, it has a possibility of pushing it out to people who aren't subscribed. Every time I do that, there's like only 8 people that see the video. But then if I do include subscribers, no subscribers watch it because they just want to see XCN. And so what do you want? I don't know what you want. Obviously, you just want XCN, but there's other coins out there and other videos you should definitely be watching. If you're not a member, Naz, you could definitely become a member, get some more inside information, or you could watch the other videos and give me the 1 cent from watching the advertisements. So this is CNT. Well, this is math, but this is what I expect with Canton Network because we are building that base. We're still building higher lows. We're still above the CM Guppy in Canton Network. So imagine Canton Network in your mind like we just saw. And imagine this area. There's not a whole bunch of information to go off of. Same with Canton Network. There's not a whole bunch of information to go off of. What we can go off of is the data that is provided. This is the pullback Canton Network is within, in my opinion. So it may get that consolidation phase. We may have some wick offs, a little bit better buying opportunities. But if it can stabilize and hold support, you can see a quick buy back up. And this is where most people enter because we get that close. Let's zoom in real close. Nice and deep like this one. This bar on August 13th of 2020. That is the confirmation candle. It closed. A lot of people are scared because we didn't close exactly above this wick off. We did close above the previous high. We closed above that previous high. And then we had the major sell-off. And that may not look like much, but to the people who are in the market, maybe they bought in at that exact point. That's about a 13% reduced price. That's about the percent that stockholders make in an entire year. So they're going to freak out, maybe sell out. But this is why my channel is called NC Hammer Crypto, because this is essentially a hammer. Long wick, tiny little bar, and boom. Math took off like no other. So if we're looking at Canton Network, where's my fib? No, we want a ruler. If you're entering right at that area, this is essentially Canton Network. Say we're entering in here for Canton Network. That's about 90% increase, 100% with the major reduction, right? That's the shakeout. So the people who didn't sell end up selling here, and then they miss that extra opportunity for the 220% increase within less than a month. But that's not all, folks, because that was in August. But look at math. Math is definitely mathing later in the year. So say you bought in at this point. Patience is key. So you get that 100% increase. Maybe you sold off. Maybe you bought back in. True potential, 12x. That is essentially what you could be expecting with Canton Network. But after that, after 2021, blood, just blood everywhere. Look at that. This shows a little bit of a blip like we saw with XCN. This shows a little blip building higher highs, right? If we draw a trend line, more or less, higher highs. But this next one was a lower high. That doesn't look good for math. We would want to be closing a higher high than that point. Still nothing. Blood, blood. There's nothing with math at the moment. It's actually, I don't even think it's anything really, but it did make money. Let's go back to Canton. So same thing. What happens if we can close above this point? We could expect a quick 1 to 2x, which would be essentially 32 cents. Maybe if you're in Canton Network, you want to be looking at a sell-off somewhere in here. There's other things you could do to verify that. Fibonacci. There's the full one retracement. Let's actually do this. Let's do it from the previous fib. Boom. Would you look at that? The previous fib, mathematical, God Almighty, just it's beautiful stuff what Fibonacci can do. Look at that. Almost 30 cents, exactly where I said without even pulling up fib, just because I personally think the 2x is a possibility from what we've seen in previous history. Oh, whoa. All right, let's check out the comments. Yes, this cycle. Here, give me 1 sec. I need another beer. Give me 1 sec. Oh, shit. All right. Yeah, Maves. Yeah. Boiling chicken and just made the entire house humid. All right, so there's 2 of you in here as far as I know. Send you pillows and cookies. That's what I'm talking about, Woozall. That's the type of character. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, Naz, you watch every XCN video, but you're not watching the other ones. You're all in on XCN, like buying a lottery ticket. You're not. This channel is for education and learning how to do it for other markets besides just XCN. Yes, XCN has a phenomenal risk to reward ratio, but it's not the only coin out there. You know, like let's see. I'm gonna sneak this one in here for you guys, and then I'm gonna come back to the comments. This is what we were expecting if it held. It pushed down. It's not looking very good for BNT, in my opinion. It was working within a wedge as well, but this could be a fake out. This could be because what happened January 29th? Oh, right. Jerome Powell said good afternoon and crashed the market. So I'm not worried about it. The fact that it busted out of that channel. You could always readjust this. Technically, you shouldn't, but you can. Boom. Why does this work? Because we're building the resistance here on June. We are building the support here. And what do you know? We're still on the downward wedge channel. Not worried about it. But BNT, if you guys haven't entered into BNT, look at the risk to reward ratio. The fact that we are at the absolute low is a little discouraging. I don't think we've seen it this low besides when it first came out. It was around 12 cents way back here. But this is a prime example similar to something with XCN, because XCN did this exact same thing. It's the exact same strategy I used to enter into it. It's the exact same strategy I used to enter into BNT at 20 cents. BNT at 20 cents. We are currently at 29 cents, not far off. Broke a downward trend line, shot up 1,159% in, what is that, 3 months and a quarter. Keeping it by, you 10x your money, 13x your money, and then it just gets obliterated the next couple months. But it's not obliteration because it's giving you the opportunity to enter in again. So we don't know what XCN's doing. We could probably pull it up and make some comparison. But say you didn't get in at that 20 cents. We're at 29 cents. So we're below this price point. Say you got in once it at the absolute bottom. You just knew it. There's another 465% pump within a month and a week. Test the 200 EMA. Say you held in through that 400 something pump. Another 13x. Well, that's not all, folks, because guess what? Guess what? There is the true all-time high. The true all-time high is up here at $20. We're at 29 cents. There's your risk to reward ratio. There's all the information you need. Are we breaking a downward channel is the next real question. Well, here's a red line starting from this point. Then we touch this top and this top. All right, so we're getting some resistance off that. Let's just drag it across the board. Well, the next top is essentially $7. If it breaks $7, that's 3 to 4 touches to that trend line, making it very weak, meaning the probability of it breaking that and going from $7 to $20 and then from $20 to $40 is a lot higher once it gets up and above that $7 mark. Not saying enter BNT, but I am saying the market is extremely manipulated at this price. BNT is 29 cents. What else can I advise you of? Or not advise. I'm not advising. I'm giving my opinion, YouTube. I am not a financial advisor. This is more or less the next resistance. So if we can get above this yellow line and the 200 EMA, the real resistance is here at 72 cents. And comparing that to XCN, that's about 149% to its resistance. XCN, I think, is what, probably around 100%. So an extra 50% to get to the same more or less resistance that XCN is producing. If that gets broken, you're looking at a bigger probability of a higher reward. Say it goes to the next real resistance, that's about 539. I'll go back to XCN USD. And that percent push from where we are currently sitting to its resistance is 65%. 100 something, 149 is up here. That has to be breaking out of the channel. While BNT works within the channel, XCN has to break that resistance. But when that resistance is broke, held as support, then you can be looking for that 300 something percent increase in price. BNT, similar. It's a governance token. XCN is a governance token. It's the companies trying to provide support to their own companies. Everybody who watches my channel is on XCN. I've already covered, I've gathered all the subscribers possible for XCN. I think there's only like 2,000 of you guys in the world. I've got them all. I got to expand to other things. XRP is a very good contender. If you watch my other videos, you're probably going to get more insight like BNT or DNT or Compound. There's many other coins out there that still have very high reward probabilities. If you have $100 to spend, there's the possibility of sticking it into a different coin, grabbing that 150%. You could pull out that 150%, put it back into XCN. Then you're dollar cost averaging your XCN. Yes, it would be life-changing money if we can get to 50 cents. I mean, Bitcoin would have been life-changing money if we could have made it to, 17,000 if we held. But a lot of people don't hold. That's what you don't see in the market is they sell off in the red, buy in the green, sell off in the red. It's the game that we're playing. Let's read the comments. Yeah, I try and reference you and somebody else now is for the 0.014. I got a buddy who got in at 0.026, I think. So he's still hurting, but I'm hurting too. Everybody's hurting, but I got my data. I believe in myself, which is the hardest thing to do. But it's all right there. The downward wedge. Google it. Google a downward wedge. What's the typical probability of a downward wedge to the upside? What's your child doing? Wow. I don't have any kids. I'm also unvaccinated, and I found out unvaccinated sperm can sell for about $5,000. I was banking on my own balls to make me money in the future. Oh, nobody got that joke. There was nobody in the group. That was a great joke. I thought it was funny. XDC. Yeah, I forgot about XDC. That's quite a big. That's a lot of good choices. Woozle. ZBEC is in consolidation. Stellar's good. I would definitely stack a bigger bag of XRP than Stellar because XRP is gonna move first in my opinion. Then we're gonna see XCN and then Stellar follow. So you may have like days in between to sell some, put it into the smaller coin like Stellar, have that rocket, pull it out of Stellar, put it back into XRP, and kind of it's called moving money for a reason, because you're just moving it around. It's just digits on the screen. It's not really. It's whatever you think is best. Algorand is a good bet. Chainlink, I brought up Chainlink a while back, but stopped talking about it because it was in consolidation. Brought up Canton, but Canton's been in consolidation, trying to break those new all-time highs. I did bring up XDC a while back. I'm still kind of iffy on it. I'm not fully invested or invested at all into XDC. Same with like XVM. That was supposed to be a RWA, real world asset for XRP. Some guy on Instagram's like, I sold my Porsche for $60,000 so I could buy XVM. And then you look at it, he's trying to convince people to buy XVM, and then it just fucking tanks. The turkey baster for what? Oh, for the money. Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I need a freezer or something. You probably have to watch the ads that pop up in between. I'm just talking to my computer right now. It's like me and you, Uzo. I didn't let anybody know I'm doing live. I'm just kind of doing it. I got to go here in a little bit. I got to study some Spanish and finish this teaching English course. Certificates in data analytics, Salesforce certification, customer support, Google advertising, worksheet, Excel, everything technology related. Can't find a job in technology to save my life. So that's kind of where the turkey baster comes in, where I could sell my sperm for $5,000. I think you have to have like some college education or something for that. I don't know. Anything else you want to see, Woozall, before we end this? I don't think anybody else is going to see this. It's probably like 6 in the morning in America. About 90% of my viewers are from America. I'll do one more that I was thinking of. What was I? You know, Compound does have a pretty irrational movements. This is absolutely terrible. What was that? October 10th. Where's October 10th? Boom. Yeah, there's October 10th. I don't even need to look. It's a wick off right there. The 29th of January. Yep. Okay, so everybody's following suit to what's happening in the news. Compound, however, is really testing its patience with a downward trend line. It's only $16 now. I don't think we've ever seen Compound this low, which is deterring investing in it. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. There we go. Very deterring. But last time we were this low, right around the $25 mark, it's just really not looking good. I want to say invest into it at this price point. But it does have some major pumps when it gets very, very low and very quickly. This was about a month, but 200%, a little bit longer, 400%, 500%. But it is building higher lows. Now it is building lower lows, which is the main scare. Probably shouldn't even be talking about Compound, but it's actually testing right around that area where we want to see some support. So we're working within this triangle. If we can cross this downward triangle, that's where you'd look for your entry, right around $17 to $20. Keeping in mind the 200 EMA is going to be its resistance. If we can get over that, we could expect a push all the way up to around 160 or higher from a $16 investment. Completely oversold in the RSI. Volume's picking up. Not too bad, but wait till it crosses a downward trend line for any type of investment. Dude. Interpretive dance, I think they do this. And then they do like what I don't fucking know, whatever's on Instagram. All the teeny boppers fucking doing dance moves for entertainment. You can't even go on Instagram without having somebody dance in front of you. Like you don't do that in real life. You don't just you just don't do that. If I came up to you and was like, "Hey, what's up? My name's Neil." Like what? Like what the fuck is? I don't know what that's gonna. I don't know how that's entertaining. That people aren't even gonna have a conversation in real life anymore. It's not anything. And yeah, I may not be the best dancer, but hell, I got a Green Man suit, so I can dance around as Green Man and nobody knows who I am. Just the freak who can't get with anybody's girlfriend. Not a threat. How'd that go? I tried getting a homeless guy to sing to me for 50 cents. He did. But I guess that's more, I don't know, it's kind of dark. I'd dance for a drink too, but I already got one, so I don't need to dance for anybody's entertainment. Except I should probably start my videos dancing. I got to get a new iPad before I can start doing videos of me dancing to spread the word of making money. Whatever the teeny boppers do. Let's see. One more. What else do I like? I did BNT. Let's check out DNT. I think DNT was doing some movement. Nope. Dead. Dead like compound. But it is starting to build a little bit of a base for its new all-time low. And the reason I'm bringing up DNT is because last time we did something like this, granted this is a higher low than the previous low, this is a lower low, we broke a downward trend line. And my prediction was right here, 5 cents. I was like, all right, I'm entering when we get some support. I saw this wick up. I was like, okay, we're getting close to the 200 EMA. Enter, 2 cents. My prediction was 5 cents. Obviously, I'm not the smartest person because we went well past that. I did sell off up here. I was selling off up here at 500%, 600%, 626%, and then we had the major reduction in price. So when we break downward trend lines like we broke this black downward trend line right here, we're in consolidation. We're trying to make sure that this is our support, but it's just not looking the best at the moment. It's an opportunity. It's only a penny. It's double the cost of XCN. XCN is definitely probably a better bet. But DNT, I believe it's all-time high. What's its all-time high? All-time high is 26 cents. So a potential 26x. Put $100 at it. Turn it into potentially $2,000 when this altcoin season finally kicks off. We are trying to build support on this downward trend line. Ideally, we need to get above that 200 EMA to start seeing some real movement. But DNT is a contender. Hey, thanks, James. Always appreciated. Banker coin? Bank R coin. I've never heard of that. Hey, Amelia. Oh, yeah, I do have perp as well, Amelia. I haven't brought that up in a minute because it's been in consolidation. And I think I uploaded a video for you, Amelia. Make sure you watch that as well as all the other ones. Yep, it's available to the public right now. I will cover James Banker Coin. What's the ticker for that? Is it just Bank R Coin? Banker Coin. It's on Coinbase, so it's definitely got some type of backing. What is happening? I would actually compare this to Canton Network and Math as well, because really there's no information. What is Banker Coin? Give me some the research that you did. What is it? I'd compare Banker Coin to Math just off of the basic data that's given to us. You sold your Banker? Why did you get into Banker? Where did you hear about Banker? This is the first time I've heard about it. Is it a game coin? Is it a meme coin? What is it? Maybe there's a better chart. Maybe there's previous history that I don't know about. Well, that's USD. That's not USDT. There's HX. HX is usually pretty flawed. That doesn't tell me anything. HTX tells me nothing. Gate. Gates got the info. So this must have popped up on Gate.io before anywhere else. 0.005. So the price that XCN is currently sitting at. That's some pretty high risk to reward. Didn't want to crash the pump. So you think Banker's a meme coin? I don't know what Banker is. John on YouTube? I'm sorry, I don't know John. I only watch NC Hammer Crypto. That's the only guy I pay attention to. I only pay attention to myself. I try and avoid other people's stuff because everybody's going to say the market's going down when it's really just trying to build some support. AI driven decentralized social trading bot operating on Base. A social trading bot on Ethereum and Solana? Well, Ethereum's gas fees are just ludicrous. The fact that Solana's integrated is good. Also, thank you, James, for the donation. That's cool. 50% of that, well, 33% is going to YouTube, and the other 50% from your and Woozall's donation are going to save animals' lives and get me new tech so I don't have to use this computer or my iPad that's got no gigabytes. Let's see. Didn't want to crash the pump. You got to hold on to those. Whenever it's pumping, you got to wait to see it close the candle before you start selling it. The fact that one person's promoting it is no reason to buy the coin in general. The fact that it's on Coinbase is good, but it entered into Coinbase later in the game. So we didn't have the original data that Gate has showing that 5 cents is its all-time high. It's an AI bot, which is also concerning because I could show you my biggest regret being OMG. OMG was a coin, then it did some altercation thing with switching to Boba. If you guys heard about Boba, I'm sure you guys have. They were doing a 1-to-1 payout if you held your OMG on one platform. I moved it to that platform. They said they weren't going to use Coinbase. They weren't Mikra. They weren't going to get the airdrop to anybody who had their money on Coinbase. So I switched it over to a different platform. They did the airdrop, tried cashing out my $100,000 of OMG. $5,000 turned into $100K in 7 days. I couldn't withdraw my funds because it was staked. 100K went down to 20K. So Boba started trading. It went up to 9 cents. So you got like double money, more or less. But then OMG became a bot trading coin. And I'm going to show you a bot trading coin, but that doesn't mean Banker's not going to push up to 5 cents. I'm actually considering looking at entering Banker, not only because it's in a bull movement when the rest of the market's bleeding and everybody has the hype mentality for trying to catch the coin that's running. You don't want to catch the train too late, but you don't want to get slaughtered. So it looks like the 200 EMAs will potentially forming. If this can close above this previous high and this previous high, it's looking more like a buy than anything, because that close shows that we have, well, where's it at? This range. There's no resistance. There's nothing saying that this should be held back. But the only thing that's concerning is the RSI is oversold or overbought. We pushed up twice. We're getting that last push. We may get this to push up to that 0.0015 before a little bit of resistance and consolidation like we're seeing with Canton Network. Go check out the Canton Network video if you haven't. But if it closes, ideally we'd want it to close above the top of this wick around the 0.0015. If that happens, there's nothing holding this back from running. And say you enter in right around that price range, which if it starts to run past that price range, you're going to see people buying it up. It's about 230%. Go play poker, get yourself 1x, use your educated guessing. You may get a little bit over 2x. But I expect we may get a little bit of consolidation with this close. We could see this wick off and resist, but this is looking a lot like Canton Network and math. I just explained math and Canton Network previously. Maybe go back in this video and check it out. And you had at 0.00055. This is really where risk comes into play. I mean, XCN, I was buying it at 0.000125? No, 0.00125. 20125. And we had that 200% gain. You're kind of looking at the same thing. You're risking it, but there's the possibility. It's all laid out in front of you. There's no real resistance from its high of 0.005 to where we are currently sitting. If we get this close, keep an eye on it. I'm actually going to keep an eye on it as well. And if I have any money left over, I might try and 2x it on Banker. That's actually not a bad bet. It's new news to me. Let's see. Yeah, Claude has taken over a lot of stuff too. ABT. Oh, perp. Yeah, let's pull up. I'm going to pull up OMG real quick, and then I'm going to pull up perp. And a lot of people are joining now, I guess, but I got to study. So this is OMG. It stands for oh my God. Because oh my God, did I have it set up before it got demolished. OMG. I put in about $5,000 here. Maybe a little lower. I think I was actually trading it back here around 250. Had a major run up. That major run up was like, okay, obviously, Neil, you know what you're talking about. 400% gain, sell off, great. Came all the way back down, put the money back in. 5,000, say 441% on OMG. And at this moment, I was up around $120,000. They said, we're doing an airdrop for Boba. You can trade Boba on Coinbase. For every OMG coin you have, we're giving you a Boba, but you can't have it on Coinbase. All right, so I'll transfer it to another platform. I can sell it on that platform, fine, no problem. Transferred all the 120,000 over to this other market, and I couldn't move it or stake it or do anything with it for 7 days on that platform. What happened in 7 days? From $20, original entry around like 250, 7 days, you're looking at $8. Over 50% decrease in price. $50,000 to $60,000 wiped, all because somebody said, hey, we're going to give you a one-to-one if you stake it on our platform for $50,000. Brutal. This is an AI traded coin now, and nothing is happening. So you could essentially say I 4x'd my money, 5,000 to 20,000, but right now it is just blood. I can't imagine, even with Bitcoin pushing up, this was supposed to follow suit with AI trading the coin. I don't know. I don't really have faith in OMG anymore. And that's an example of risk to reward. Are you going to risk it or are you going to lose it all? Perp, this is the line we want to hold as support, more or less. Ooh, that's pretty nice, actually. Look at the volume. The volume is picking up exponentially when we are hitting this trend line, saying this is pretty low. This is pretty undervalued for perpetual protocol. Volume picked up here when we hit this trend line. Volume picked up here, more or less, when we hit resistance. Picked up here exponentially when we hit this trend line again, and picked up again when we hit this trend line. So if this can hold and consolidate, the 200 EMA is thinned out like a mofo, really, really thin. CM Guppy is a little bit strong at the moment, kind of pushing it downwards. The risk to reward, though, so the real resistance that we would be looking at would essentially be more or less this, 33 cents from a 2-cent investment. Are you really willing to risk 2 cents for nearly 1,000% or a 10x gain? It's not a bad bet in my eyes. Volume's picking up. Completely oversold on the RSI. One sec. Telemarketer in Spanish is calling me, so I'm going to speak English. Hello? Damn straight, you better hang up. You can't speak English worth it. All right, let's go back to the comments. See, a perpetual, wait for your entry, but make sure it stabilizes support on that downward trend line. That's what I'd be looking at. Yeah, cup and handle. What were we looking at? I gotta make sure I write that down because it's not bad. It's 2x, maybe. Banker coin. Let's go back. Oh, that demolished everything. And for those of you who are in here and haven't done it yet, on all my videos, I'm going to start promoting it. But Rollercoin, get 1,000 satoshi free for using the reference link. I think I put it on this video. I'm just trying to make you guys money even when we're bleeding out. And that's made me quite a bit of money playing stupid games. But it's nice. Banker. Oh, I can't save it. I don't have trading view. I don't like paying for that. Yeah, that thing is, yeah. Well, yeah, more or less. I guess you could consider it a cup and handle. Essentially, this. There's the cup, and then the handle is pretty tight. But it is still a handle. We've actually seen this in demo. I want to save that one. I want to put it as a favorite. Keep an eye on it. Let's do demo. Let's remove demo so I can save banker. Demo. Look at demo. Broke this trend line. Was that October 10th? Yeah. I don't even need, like, the charts. October 10th just destroyed the market from what it should have done. Micra. Fuera. Demo is a prime example. This is when I was watching demo. I have it pasted here. This is all my previous history. Why was I looking at demo? Well, we finally had the 200 EMA come into play. It was a major cup and handle inside a cup and handle. When you zoom in on this and you start looking at like the 4-hour, I'm not going to bring it up, but decreasing in volume, less sellers. We had the cup. We had this little bit of a handle here. Let's see if we can zoom that in.
Very short time frame. And so this is kind of what you could expect with the Banker coin. Short time frame pullback, major bullish movement, held above the 50 on the CM Guppy, held above the 200 EMA, and then took off like there is no tomorrow. Went from, let's get you a percentage ratio. Oops. Said, let's get you a percentage ratio. My God. Say there. 577% in 19 days. Keep that in mind. 600% in 19 days. Meanwhile, people are selling off here. 143%, I'm good. 10 days. You wait 10 more days and you get an extra 400%. That is where patience is key. That is kind of what we are expecting with Banker. Now let's save it. Boom. Banker. Zoom out. Zoom out. Boom. Very similar structure setup, no? Cup, handle, pop, close. If we can get this to close, you can expect that increase in price. Boiling chicken. The stove just turned off. And I'm going to add some water. All right, let's see what else you guys got. Anything else anybody wants to see? Good looking out, James. There's so many coins on the market. The people who are just here for XCN are missing out on a lot of other opportunities. This would be one of those opportunities. Even though the market's bleeding out, a lot of people are trapped in XCN. If you have a job and you're willing to put more money into it, you could easily make that 2x with the move up. Not saying it's going to be today or tomorrow. Could be a week from now. Could be 2 weeks from now. Could not happen. It's an AI bot traded coin. It could be like a meme coin. But we are making educated guesses, and that's the most important thing. And I am not studying. That is not, I should be studying right now. I am trapped myself in perp. I went heavy into perp, got trapped. I'm not going to sell it with my loss, but I do have faith. Let's see. I think this was, move that. I think it was HTX. Nope, it was not HTX. It was Gate. I'm going to save Gate to watch this coin. Oh, if I had $100, I'd put it into Banker. That's for sure. Let's go back to perp. Yeah, it's just bleeding. Come on, hold that line. Do something. Yeah. Perp, it's got some resistance on the way up. It's got Now it has this as a resistance. Well, let's start back here. More or less this as resistance, thin it out. We got this as resistance, more or less. This is the real resistance at 34. That we could see something like XCN did, where it pops up, taps that, major rejection, then holds the support on the 200 EMA. That would be the pristine setup for perpetual. So people who are not in perpetual, I'm not saying enter in right here because it's bleeding out brutally with the rest of the market. I assume this is October 10th. Yeah. It's just the random blip in all the graphs. October 10th destroyed the bullish momentum. This would have popped up over the 200 EMA and this resistance. Then we would have began the altcoin season. Government shutdown. All this is BS. All of this is BS. A lot of people can't wait it out and hold it. A lot of people are investing money they can't afford to lose, or they need to pay bills. I've done it with Tron before, where I took my entire paycheck, put it into Tron, and the next week I had double my paycheck. There's the possibilities. Aster, yep. I was looking at Aster the other day too. I'm never going to get off this live chat because there's so much good stuff to talk about. I didn't even get to see the Super Bowl because it was at like 1 in the morning here whenever that was going off. Seahawks won, though. I saw that somewhere. I think I tried looking up the Super Bowl, and then it's like Seahawks. I'm like, oh, cool. That was from Washington State, and all the stuff that goes along with that. Where is a good one for Aster? There's no real good graphs. That's probably the best so far. Kraken? No. Bybit? Where's our info? That's the only info we get. Gate? Cool coin. Nope. Let's see. HTX. HTX is probably the best so far. CoinX. There we go. There's the 200 EMA finally popping in at 77 cents. That's our resistance for Aster. The support, you could say this was the support for a little bit. And we clone that. Pop that right there. Big-a-dang, big-a-dong. Or instead of doing that, if you guys haven't used it, Confam. Perfect. Look at that. Lines up exactly where I put those lines. More or less. So we're ranging within here, ideally. If we break down, we're not looking at a whole big drawdown for Aster. If we hold this black line as support, we have the range up to 99 to $1. If that breaks, the next range up, keeping in mind we got some resistance. G. Boom. Key. Boom. Fair value gap, which is right in that range. So we could expect if we get over this 200 EMA on Aster at 75 cents, we could push up to the 94. Percentage-wise, if you're entering this, I wouldn't be entering this until you get validation over that 200 EMA. That's 20%, but you're more than likely going to get some resistance and pull back. So I want to enter until you hold support on the 200 EMA. Then you're really looking at a 76 to potentially 130% increase. But beyond 130, it's about 200, which you could be getting with Banker, like we just talked about, with it a lot quicker than with Aster. But Aster's not a bad bet. once we get over that 200 EMA. We are a little bit overbought. We'd like to see this consolidate, come back down on the RSI. Volume is picking up. So it is showing we are trying to get a little bit of support right in here, 43%. All right. Hopefully that was informative. I am now, once I end this, I'm going to finish the thumbnail for Ripple and XCN, upload that thumbnail, and then post the XRP and XCN video that is almost 23 minutes long. You can watch it, you can play it in the background, listen to my monotone voice, and definitely check out the other videos. It's about another 23 to 27 minutes of information, and only 16 people in the entire world have seen it. Nice. Cool. Top chat, live chat. Anytime, Woozall. Thanks for the support, donations, all that good stuff. It's always good seeing you around. And you are my first supporter, so it's good to see that you're still here. I hope you're learning. I hope you're not panicking while this market is being manipulated. Because that's all it is, really. It's market manipulation. You look at October 10th on any chart, and that's when the government shut down. That's when the market got destroyed. That's when the government was able to buy it on the cheap. They bought it when it did that flash crash, and they're buying it again now that it is suppressed. And much thanks. Yeah, it's been over a decade of trial, error, failures. I can guarantee you I have failed ridiculous amount of times, but that's how I have built my strategy, and that's how I have been able to be profitable. The only way to learn is to fail, really, in this market. It's unfortunate, but it is facts. And there's only 3 here, so anybody who missed out on the previous information, I gotta finish my teaching English as a foreign language, because apparently I don't know how to do anything else, or nobody's hiring for tech jobs, and study some Spanish. It is 2:30 here, so I've wasted my day. So good luck. Have fun with it. Use the reference links below. If you haven't joined Rollercoin, again, that's one of the best games to earn passive crypto, and you don't have to like download stuff. I'm trying some other games to see if there's anything out there, but a lot of them are like, you only get paid out in this game coin, and then you can trade that game coin to your wallet, and then that wallet to transfer to a fraction of a crypto. It's like, that's a lot of work for little money. But Rollercoin pays you out instantly, and you can mine whatever you want. So that's why I like it. And you get 1,000 satoshi for using the link. But that's about it. I've spent about 2 hours on this live chat. Thank you for the donations, Woozall. Hopefully this next month we can put that money to good use and save some animals. You as well, James, always appreciate donations, stickers, all that good stuff, and memberships. So good luck. Have fun with it. Watch this video. Watch the other 2 videos of like half an hour of information that I didn't speak for no reason. I spoke so you guys could learn. And I will be uploading the XCN video for everybody who's just here for XCN. Nothing's happening. Nothing's gonna change here within the next day. Don't quote me on that. We could see a massive spike that everybody's waiting for, but it's debatable.
Yeah, thanks. Even whenever I was doing the teaching class, they're like, we need to talk about at, then, and ifs. Explain it. So I used cryptocurrency to explain that in my teaching English class. Some people found it amusing. Some people didn't even know how to trade crypto, but I don't know if they joined the channel. But I figured it was a good time to teach the market and English at the same time. If you guys are interested in learning English, I hope you guys already know English because that's all I'm speaking. You could join my English class. Oh, I should probably be teaching Spanish if anything. Puta mierda and gilipollas. You say gilipollas, you got half the Spanish language down. I mean, stupid dick, asshole, and a lot of other negative words. You can see people mouth it in their cars when they're driving by, but it's a great word. Mierda, shit. Gilipollas, asshole, dick, stupid ass, puta, bitch, which is really strange because pollo is chicken, polla is dick. So don't screw that up. If you go asking the market for polla, they're probably not going to give it to you. Maybe some guy in the back will give you some polla, but you're looking for pollo. You're looking for chicken, not dick. Nice. Yeah, there's only so many Spanish swear words that you really need to know. If anything, Google hacer. Hacer is to do in English, and there's like 30 different phrases for hacer. I still don't even know. I don't know them all. I don't even know. I just say hacer, the basic infinitive version, because there's hacer, hase, hase, hacemos, haseis, hasen, hasa, hasa. And then that's just to describe, like, if it's he, she, they, them, they in a different form, or you. And then there's like 20 other variations for like past, present, future versions. 6 of those they don't use, but some people do. So you have to kind of piece it together. Ridiculous. I cannot comprehend French. I do actually have a friend who's from France who's marrying a girl from Ecuador here this next year, but he picked up Spanish, she picked up French, they both picked up English. So it's obviously possible, but I am definitely struggling learning Spanish. I definitely like the visuals better than the language. But now I'm just ranting. It's an hour and 53 minutes. I need to do my test. So on this piece of iPad. And I cussed a couple times, so hopefully I don't get policy violations through YouTube since it is live. Oh, yeah, that's brutal. That is brutal. All I know is omelette du fromage, and that's from like Dexter, which is like a cheese omelet. I remember that from a long time ago. I became like president from saying omelette du fromage. Like put on the headset and it went on record or repeat while he was sleeping. I actually did that when I was younger. My Dexter laboratories, and when I was a kid, Cartoon Network. He puts on this like thing that's supposed to like make him learn the language while he's sleeping, but it goes on skip and it just says omelette du fromage over and over again. And so that's the only word he knows in French. And he becomes the president and like leader of the world. But my mom said if I listened to Mozart when I was sleeping, I would become more smart in general. That's what they say. But I went to class when I was a kid the next day and they were like, what is the square root of 2? And I was like, Mozart. And they're like, why do you, what? No. They asked me another question. I say, it's Mozart. They're like, why do you keep saying Mozart is the answer to every question? I said, my mom said if I listened to Mozart, I would be smarter. That is not the case. Death metal's great. It's been a while since I've listened to some good death metal. Five Finger Death Punch, Atreyu, Breaking Benjamin, if you consider that death metal, Diarrhea Jane. Oh man, that's nostalgic. But all right, you're keeping me here longer than I was expecting, Woozle. I gotta study. I gotta study. I gotta take this test. I gotta redo another test that they invalidated. I have an hour and a half to try and bust out like 3 hours of studying. So I'm gonna end this right here. And thanks for sticking along. Check out the other videos, even if you're not watching them. Put them on play in the background. Get some advertisement watching. And yeah, I'm going to click that button. See ya. Thanks.